May 20th, 2015 from the Phillips Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. It was Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Atlanta Hawks in the 2015 NBA playoffs. And this game was tight early on, but then the Hawks took control in the first, going up by as many as 9 points in the quarter. And at the end of one, it was 26-20 with Atlanta in the lead. The Cavs would take the lead in the second quarter, but the Hawks took it right back, and after 3 ties in the quarter, Kent Bazemore would tie it up for the 4th time right before halftime, with the score knotted up at 51. The third quarter saw some back and forth, but it was the hot-handed J.R. Smith who would give the Cavs their biggest lead of the game thus far, nailing a 3-pointer to make it 71-63 Cleveland, up by 8, and then a 21-footer at the end of the third quarter by Smith would make it 74-67 as the Cavs went into the fourth up by 7. Entering the fourth quarter, J.R. Smith had 5 3-pointers, and then in the first 2 minutes of the fourth, J.R. put up his 6th, 7th, and record-setting 8th 3-pointers of the game to make it 82-67, completing a 22-4 run by the Cavs as they were running away with this game. Then later in the fourth, to make matters worse, the Hawks lost their best defender in the backbone of their offense. The JYD would leave the game due to injury as DeMarre Carroll sprained his knee. The Hawks would then wake up and go on a 13-1 run, bringing the game back to within 4 points with a minute left to play, but it was too little too late as King James sealed the win for Cleveland. He hit a deuce, and then he drew a foul on the next possession, which was reviewed for what seemed like forever. LeBron went to the line, he hit both free throws. That made an 8-point lead for Cleveland at 95-87, and moments later the game would come to a close with the final score 97-89. So over that 7-minute stretch, the last 5 minutes of the third and the first 2 minutes of the fourth, the Cavs outscored the Hawks 22-4 as J.R. Smith was just going off. And this is the first time in franchise history that the Cleveland Cavaliers have won a Game 1 on the road. They previously were 0-14, so now they're 1-14. So the first time in 15 tries, the Cavs win a Game 1, and they take the 1-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals with the win in Game 1. And LeBron James and J.R. Smith combined for 59 points in this game. LeBron had 31, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and a steal. And off the bench, J.R. Smith, 28 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal on the block. He was 8 for 12 from downtown. And that is a record-setting performance as a Cleveland Cavalier. A huge game by J.R. Smith. And for the Cavs, they also had a couple of double-doubles by their big men, Timofey Mozgov and Tristan Thompson. Mozgov had 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks, or actually that was Thompson had 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Mozgov with 10 points, 11 rebounds. And Kyrie Irving, 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists in the game. Shumpert with 4.7 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, and a block. And J.R. Smith was the only guy to score off the bench for the Cavs, but he was all they needed. Although Dellavedova did have 2 rebounds and 3 assists as well as a steal off the bench. And for the Hawks, Jeff Teague had 27 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. Al Horford, 16.7 rebounds, 2 assists. Paul Millsap, 13.7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. Off the bench, Kent Bazemore had 10 points, 4 rebounds, and a block. DeMarre Carroll had 5 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Kyle Korver, 9.7 rebounds, 3 assists. And Dennis Schroder had 6 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. The real difference in this game was the 3-point shooting, as the Cavs hit 10 3-pointers, 8 of which were from J.R. Smith. As the only other 2 came from Kyrie Irving, who was 2 for 3 from 3-point land. But the Cavs overall shot 38.5% from downtown versus just 17.4% for the Hawks, as they had abysmal perimeter shooting and 3-point shooting in this game, hitting just 4 of 23 from 3-point land. although from the field, the Hawks actually had a slight advantage, hitting 44.2% of their shots versus 44 for the Cavs, and that was mainly due to their points in the paint, as they actually outscored the Cavs in the paint 46-42. Like I said, it was that three-point shooting for Cleveland that really made the big difference in this game. And from the foul line, the Hawks actually had more free throws, 17-23 for 73.9% versus 65% for the Cavs, who hit 13-20. And on the boards, though, the Cavs won the battle of the boards on offense and on defense, and overall outboarding them 49-37. And they had almost twice as many offensive rebounds. And on the assist end, the Cavs had the slight advantage, 20-19. The Hawks did have more steals, 6-4, although the Cleveland Cavaliers were actually able to score just as many points off of turnovers with having had more turnovers. So the Hawks didn't turn over as much, but the Cavs turned their turnovers into the same amount of points, 15, as the Hawks did off of their turnovers. As the Cavs had 15 turnovers, the Hawks had 12 turnovers, and both teams scored 15 points off of turnovers. And as for blocks, the Cavs had one more at 4-3. So quite an exciting game. Early on, it looked like the Hawks might take it, but then King James and J.R. Smith just took over. They went off, especially in the crunch time, in the clutch time, late there in the third and opening into the fourth. At that point, they'd really put the distance between them. And then really a huge blow to the Hawks when DeMarre Carroll went down, although they did go on kind of a run there. But at that point, the Cavs kind of, at the same time, just were coasting with the big lead. And then when it came down to it, LeBron hits that shot and then ends up getting the free throws. Shumpert also added a couple free throws at the end, and that was that. So an interesting game, and actually the word is out now that DeMarre Carroll, it's just a sprained knee. There was concern that maybe it was a worse injury, as that would have really been disastrous for the Hawks. I thought when I saw him go down, I was worried. I was like, oh man, if he can't play, this series is over. But thankfully, it's just a sprained knee. He's questionable for Game 2. We'll see if he can go. Should be back by Game 3, if not by Game 2. I would really think that they just let him actually get a little rest and make sure he can come back and not re-injure that knee, because he really is the backbone of the Atlanta Hawks. Game in, game out. He is just a solid force down there. Presence. He's a great perimeter defender. He can actually shoot from the perimeter too, as he did hit a three-pointer in this game. But that's a huge blow for them. Of course, that was late in the game. The game was already pretty much out of reach at that point. So it really didn't have an effect so much on this game, but it could have an effect on the series going forward. Of course, LeBron, like I said, coming up clutch, and J.R. Smith having the game of his life. That's the most points he's ever scored in a playoff game. I think that might be his most points he scored in a game, but I know it's most he scored in a playoff game, and the most three-pointers by a Cavalier in a playoff game as well. So J.R. Smith, quite the performance for the Cleveland Cavaliers as they take Game 1. And the final score in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Cleveland 97, Atlanta 89.